Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of How to Reach 2000. We're starting off with the white pieces. Let's go with d4. We're probably going to play the London system. h6 is a weird move because they're not controlling the center. I don't even know why they're playing this. We get a 1300 by the way. I think it's the first time in this series that we get a 1300. Okay, now they're just playing like a normal person, although not really. d6 is also weird, but it makes sense if they go into like a King's Indian position. Let's offer a trade of bishops that also activates our queen if they take. We could also take with the pawn, but I prefer taking with the queen. Bishop e6 is very passive because it blocks in the e-pawn, and if they don't move their e-pawn, then this bishop is going to have a hard time developing. You might say they can go here and then they can go bishop to g7, but that's not a very good diagonal because I'm going to play the move c3, and they're going to have to fight against this brick wall. So let's play c3 because it's one of the moves that we want to play anyways. We could have also played h4, which was going to prevent g5 because we can just take. Now they're just moving their bishop to a slightly more active space. I can already start playing moves like e4, but I can also just play knight to f3. It's important to mention that if I play a move like knight d2, they're going to take my g2 pawn and my rook is trapped, so I'm not going to do that. We have to block the bishop's attack towards the g2 pawn. So far it's a weird opening choice by my opponent because they're just making a bunch of pawn moves which don't really do much, and they just moved one piece 3 times. Let's keep developing our pieces. What is that? What does that even do? Let's play the move h3 because now we have an extra square for the bishop. So this idea is not as powerful. They go for takes, which is weird. Usually you're supposed to take with the knight, but I actually like taking with the queen because now I'm putting pressure on that pawn right there. And they go for d5, but d5 is not very scary. Eventually I can break with the move pawn to e4, and actually I can start doing it right now. However, I do prefer castling first, and I do prefer kingside castles. As you can notice, we have all of our pieces developed, and we can start opening up the center so that we can bring the rook to the center and fire it towards this king in the center of the board. My opponent is not playing well. This is too passive. Now I'm gonna just rip open the center. I can either take more space by playing this, but actually I prefer putting up my e-file so that I can play rook here. I don't want them to take my bishops, so I'm gonna play the move bishop to g3. I'm gonna play rook e1 next. Maybe not instantly because now they're attacking this, so I have to defend that. Let's go here. The idea is I'm defending my a2 pawn. Now they're threatening to fork me because I can no longer take with the b pawn. Here I have this move. Also I can move this bishop somewhere, and that's gonna defend my pawn. I personally like moving this bishop somewhere. Maybe if I play a move like knight b3, they can start with a5 and go a4. I don't really want to let them do that, but actually we might have enough time to bring in all of our pieces. Also we can just drop our bishop back by 1 square, which defends this. Now they can play this move bishop to a3, but I'm not too worried. Now I can play this move, which disconnects the queen from looking at this, so I'm threatening to take their bishop, and their bishop has to move now. Now they have this plan of going a5 and then a4, but I'm not too scared because I'm getting a bunch of time. As you can see, my rooks are nice and well placed. I can already start looking at sacrifices that involve rook takes, but currently they're kind of premature. And I really like this move, which pins the pawn, and I'm threatening rook takes. So I'm gonna go with this move. If they play g6, I'm most likely gonna sacrifice. This doesn't really work because I can just take. They can take my knight, but in the meantime I'm gonna destroy them. Okay, they're letting me take this, which I don't think is a good thing. What if I just take? And if bishop takes, then I can just play this. I'm not worried about this because I can just move my king. Wow. I can go knight to d4, and now I'm putting pressure everywhere. If you have some good tactical vision, you can notice that this pawn is actually hanging currently. And we can play knight takes. The reason why I prefer knight takes is because look at this knight. This knight is about to die. And also I have ideas of this. They cannot take because the pawn is pinned, and they're gonna have a really bad time now. They moved their knight, but that knight used to defend the c7 square, and also I can just simply take their queen. This is just absolute destruction. I'm gonna take the queen, knight takes, and now I can... Do I have a better move? I don't think so. I'm just gonna go here and then take the rook. Okay, let's take the free rook. Idea is to play this. That hangs a knight. No tactics with the knight, because first of all I can play queen here. Okay, and that kind of works, but not really. It's actually forced checkmate. Feel free to calculate it yourself if you wanted to. Okay, they resign. Let's have a look at the game review. Played at 75 accuracy. Well, the engine doesn't like me. And black played a very bad game. They played at 56.4 accuracy. This is not how 1300 should be playing. Let's get started. d4. I don't even know what h6 is. Engine says it's a good move, but it's not. Like, they should try their best to put some pawns in the center. Now I play bishop to f4. I'm kind of playing like a London system, but it's not a London system because they played h6. They play d6, kind of like King's Indian stuff, but later in the game we can see that they didn't really play like a King's Indian setup. Now I play e3. The engine doesn't love it because it probably wants to go e4 and take all the space. I was just making sure that I have a solid center so that I don't have to worry about my center later. I'm just playing like a normal London. It's not the most optimal setup to punish these opening moves, but it's good enough in my opinion. Bishop f5. I offer a trade. This is the only active piece they have, so if they take, then I'm going to take with the queen. And as you can notice, I have two active pieces, whereas black has none. This move blocks in their e-pawn, which is really bad. Now I play c3, one of the moves in the London system. I could have also played knight f3 or knight d2, but it doesn't really matter. They're just moving their bishop a bunch of times, so that's not good. Here there's like one trick in the position. If I play knight d2, they can take this pawn and my rook is trapped. So I played the move knight f3. They go for a6, doesn't really make sense. They should really try to bring the knights out. You know, it's time to fight. They have no pieces that are active. Like this one bishop is not really doing much, and I can play moves like e4 and make it very passive. Look at my pieces on the other hand. I have 3 pieces out. I played knight d2. e4 is once again the best move, but I didn't really like playing it because I felt like I wasn't ready for e4 yet. I played the move h3, you know, looking into the future so that I have like an extra square for my bishop. This is a very standard London position. Now they take, which is a really bad move. They shouldn't be playing this. They're trading off their very active bishop for my knight. And I can simply recapture with the queen. Now my queen has pressure everywhere. And my queen moved away from the d1 square, so I can longside castle. Engine prefers short castles rather than long castles, but I decided to go with long castles because I felt like being more aggressive. This is inaccurate according to the engine, but my position is still pretty nice. Knight e7 is a bad move because it comes in the way of the development of the bishop. They should have tried to play bishop d6, offer a trade of my active piece for their stupid bishop on f8. Now I go e4. Very principled move. The point is, your opponent's king is still in the center, and it's gonna take a long time for them to castle. Therefore, you have to open up the center and create an attack. They play c6, very solid move. Now I decided to take and open my e-file, or at least like semi-open my e-file. Now I drop my bishop back so that I don't give up my bishop. when you're attacking, you don't really want to trade off pieces, because let's say you trade off pieces, then there are less pieces for me to attack him, and that means that my attack will be not as good. So I don't trade any pieces. They play queen a5, attacking my pawn, and I defend with king b1. They play queen to b6. The idea is knight takes c3, and I went for bishop to c2. Bishop to c2 opens up my queen's vision towards the c3 pawn, so knight takes c3 would be met with queen takes c3. We go bishop to a3, which is not a very good move because it creates this one move threat. Yes, it's gonna be pretty good if I just don't see the mate and I get checkmated like this, but if I play a move like knight to b3, actually I just missed this tactic. Wow. This is a huge mistake because in the game I had this fork of the queen and the bishop, and also I'm defending against mate. So I simply had this, and my idea is I'm attacking the queen and they cannot checkmate me. So let's say they move their queen somewhere. I can just take the bishop and I'm up 3 points of material with a crazy attack that's about to, destroy the black position. Unfortunately, I didn't see this and I went to the b3 square with my knight. My idea is now they have to move the bishop and they're simply just wasting time. But the funny thing is, in the game they played bishop to f8. Beginners play better than this. Like, this guy just doesn't know how to play chess. Is this like a misclick or something? I mean, there's no reason for a 1300 to play like this. This is just absurd. I bring my rook into the center for the attack. They go with a5, but this is not in time. And Ingen wanted bishop to g6. I did not see that, but the idea here is if they take, then I'm gonna simply take like this. This is really bad because I'm gonna start attacking them. Like, look at this. This is just crazy stuff. This doesn't really do anything. I can just go here. I have pressure everywhere. They cannot castle because my queen is looking down there. I don't know if I would have sacked the bishop because it doesn't really look like the plan is very clear cut. So I definitely wouldn't have sacrificed my bishop. I went for the more natural and more human move, which is queen to h5. My idea here is I'm threatening to win this pawn on e6. And they play the move c5, which is not a good move because it doesn't defend this. It's important to mention that if I take this pawn, then maybe there's knight takes c3 and they're winning an exchange. So I wouldn't go for that, and I decided to take with the pawn, attacking the queen. And if they take like this, now I would take. The difference here is if they take, and after I move, yes, they're getting the rook, but this knight is defended. And in fact, I have 2 pieces for the rook, which is actually beneficial for me. The Ingen says don't even take this knight, just go for the checkmate. Or at least like win the queen. That's crazy. This is a fork of the king and the queen. They cannot take because of the pin. In the game they played queen to c6, blockading this pawn. And I went with knight to d4, putting more pressure on the e6 pawn. And also attacking the queen so they don't have time to defend this pawn and also save the queen. In this position, the pawn on e6 is undefended. And I decided to take with my knight. So knight takes e6. My idea here is I'm opening up my rook on the d1 square, and I have some pressure on the d file. If they just move their knight, then I'm going to win the queen, and if they move their queen, then I'm going to win the knight. Even if they don't move the queen, I'm going to win the knight. So they're under a lot of pressure, and they're simply losing. Also, I have many ideas of discovered checks. In the game they played knight e7, which hangs the queen, so I decided to take the queen. Now knight takes d7 and I go with this fork. This is a fork of the king and the rook, so I'm winning material. Ingen says don't even take the rook, you have checkmate. Like, this is the mating idea that I have. Knight f6. Okay, defending against this, but now rook d1 check. And after they go here, I have queen e6, and if they go here, I have knight to b5, and this is actually checkmate. Imagine having a backwards knight move, which is the checkmate. Isn't that amazing? Anyways, in the game we get knight takes c5. They took my pawn on c5, and I just captured the knight because it was hanging. Now I go for a checkmate with this. This is quite a long mate. Apparently there's like a faster mate, but I went for the mate in 3. Anyways, now if the king moves, this is gonna lead to checkmate. If they block with the bishop, then this is checkmate. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video.